wanted to talk real quick about the basic things you need to think about before you buy a Roland BN-20. I actually wanted this machine ever since it came out. And I think that was around 2011 or 2012. I've been a graphic designer on and off professionally since the early 2000s. I'm a self-taught graphic designer. I learned graphic design by editing game skins or game player skins for a video game back in the late 90s, early 2000s. This was a game like Quake or Doom. I don't know if any of you folks remember that game, but I believe it was Quake. The first version that came out, there was like a beta version that would let you go in and edit your skins, meaning what your player looked like. And in order to do that, you had to have some kind of graphic program to change them up. So I had actually been using PaintShop Pro, or actually Microsoft Paint, which was included in Windows 3.11. This is going pretty far back. I'm dating myself, I'm sure. But I used to draw things in there pixel by pixel. You could zoom in and I would draw comic book characters. So I would draw like half the face, pixel by pixel, and I kind of zoom out, look at it, and zoom in and do like the color each little square, zoom out, look at it. And then when I looked at a picture, and then when I got it to where I wanted it, I would copy that side of the face, paste it and flip it and put them together, so then I had a complete face. So that was kind of my early experience with graphic design. I know it's pretty basic, but I was probably 19 or 20 years old when I was doing that. And so I got into this video game, and then I was playing the video game, and then I was trying to edit skins. You really couldn't do it with Microsoft Paint, so I think it was PaintShop Pro. I think I mentioned that earlier. I thought it was GIMP, but now that I think about it, it was called PaintShop Pro. I couldn't remember that name, but now I do. So PaintShop Pro was like Photoshop. You could kind of go in and you could save as bitmaps, JPEGs, GIFs, and some other file formats, TIFF, and I think PDF. I think you could do a PDF, but you couldn't do PNG and SVG or any vector files like AI or EPS. So that kind of got me into that, and then I got introduced to Photoshop, and then I just started practicing at home. And then through my job, I was an IT guy, and I got to I did take some classes on web design in the late 90s, and kind of got into web design. And with my graphics design experience, I was building websites. And this was, like I said, just mostly self-taught. I mean, I kind of knew how to build websites because I kind of went through and figured it out myself, but then I took some courses to kind of help me realize what I was doing. Those were just like continuing education courses. Moving on forward through my career, I was able to get a job as a web designer, and then a graphic designer, and then like a print designer, because the more I did it, the more experience I got. And then I started using Illustrator. And I did use CorelDRAW for a little bit, but I was doing a lot of desktop type publishing, or I was making print documents. I was making brochures, books, video graphics. Then I got into doing video stuff. Now I use Premiere Pro quite a bit, but most of it was just kind of jumping in and doing it. So then I actually got to work with for commercial printers, and got to start doing 4-color process print, which is CMYK, and that's what the BN-20 uses to print off of. I would have to send files for them to print, and through trial and error, I eventually figured out what I was supposed to be doing with those files and what format I was supposed to be setting them up in order to get them to print the right way they should be printing. Because the company that I worked for at the time had a specific red that they used. It was like a Pantone color, and I had to pick from the Pantone chart, which I've got right here. I had to go through and pick what color it was. I think it was a red. It was a 95. I think I remember the color of the red. It was 095 or something like that. And it was their red that they put on all their all their documents. Kind of like how Target has a specific red. I'm sure if you were to work at corporate Target, they'd have a specific red they'd want on all their red Target graphics. But anyway, that kind of taught me about Pantone colors, spot colors, 4-color process colors, and stuff like that. And most of the time it's not really critical, because most people, I guess, that are just starting out in this and getting one of these don't really care about the color. I mean, as long as, as far as, I scratch that. They care about the color because when they print the item, they want it to look how they want it to print. I printed this, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but I printed this off of that. Same thing with the back. But you want the color to look good, you want it to look right when you print it out. That way your customer, or whoever you're making it for, is happy with what it looks like. So when you use the BN-20, that's one of the basic things that you need to realize is it's a 4-color process print. When you pull something up on your screen a little bit, it may look different from how it looked in when you designed it, or when you're whatever program you're using to build your graphics. The screen is only 3-color, which is RGB. I can explain RGB and CMYK real in depth, but there's plenty of videos on that online for you to do that. I'm just trying to tell you my experience and why I got this printer and how I use it. So being that I've had that many years of experience and was familiar with it, I knew how to I knew that it was something I wanted, and something I wanted to help with my side hustle. I already have a plotter style cutter, but it's old school. It's a US cutter version. I think it's 24-inch wide or 28-inch wide. It's very basic. I mean, it's probably, the technology on that one's probably 20+ years old. And I use it just to make signs and other graphics. I don't have anything in here that I've made, but I used it to make to cut regular heat transfer vinyl to use with the heat press to make just regular shirts and other things like that I've been doing kind of for side money throughout the year. I do have a day job. I work for a transportation company as a safety programs manager, and I develop safety programs. And that can be anything from safety incentive programs to books, documents. Sorry, like this is a book that I helped develop. I didn't come up with the whole thing, but this is kind of something that I helped put together. And I'll build files like this, print files, and send them to printers and get them printed to send out to all our locations. So I'm using print stuff every day, so I'm very familiar with it. When I bought this, before I bought this printer, I found a Facebook group. Many of you that are watching this are probably from that group. And when I got on there, I'd never realized how many people are coming from, or how many people that are buying these machines were at-home type people. What I mean by that is non-commercial style customers, meaning they don't have a commercial printing business and they're not buying this to print small print jobs. They're just buying it because they're trying to upgrade from something else, whether it's a regular plotter, cutter, vinyl cutter, or a Cricut or a Silhouette. I've never used a Cricut or a Silhouette. I've been using my plotter, for 15+ years, plotter cutter. So when the Silhouettes and Cricuts came out, I was kind of scoffing at them because I was like, that's the easy way to do it or whatever. But after a while, I was just ignorant. People buy those because they want to help, or they want to do their own home projects, whether it's shirts or putting decals on the walls, or all those little small projects that people use the Cricut and Silhouette for. But the other thing I noticed in that group is, as soon as somebody posts a message and says they want to get the BN-20, they're using a Silhouette, or they just sold their Cricut, or they have a Cricut and they want to expand their business, what are some good tips? And everybody always says you must know Illustrator or Photoshop, and that is a must. If one of the points I wanted to make is it's not as easy as it looks. It's a little bit misleading. Roland and the way they do their advertising for this machine, they make it look like that all you got to do is get your file in there, print it, and it'll cut, and then poof, you got a shirt, you got decals, and you're ready to go. They don't they don't really go in depth about how difficult it is. How difficult it is to actually create a file if you don't know how to use Illustrator or CorelDRAW. There are probably other programs out there that'll help you add what you need to print. Two of the basic things are cut lines and bleeds. If you don't know how to add a cut line, you're never going to be able to cut out your decal. Like, so here's a decal I made, and the cut line was the line that went around this to cut it out. So you can weed the outside of it, and you have a decal. This decal had a bleed on it. So when it did cut, there was no white on the edge. So when they stick it on whatever they're sticking on, you're not going to see a little white edge. Some of you may not know what I'm talking about. Some of you may know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you don't know how to add those cut lines, then you're going to struggle a little bit trying to get this thing to work for you. And actually, if it doesn't work unless you know how to use cut lines. And why I say that is, if you cut a design, or if you print a design and it's not cut out, you're either gonna have to cut it by hand, or you're just gonna heat press or stick a square sticker that you cut with scissors, and that's not gonna work. You're not gonna like that, and your customers aren't gonna like it. The whole reason that you want this machine is because it die cuts stickers. So if you're looking to get one of these, you need to be sure that you take time to learn Photoshop. I mean, not Photoshop. Learn Illustrator or CorelDRAW. Whether it's going onto YouTube and just watching people do basic stuff, I'm pretty sure there are videos out there, like a beginner's guide to Illustrator or CorelDRAW. I personally prefer Illustrator just because I kind of started out with the Adobe products back in the day, and then some of the places I worked at had Corel, and I kind of had to use it to learn it. But I'd probably say 90% of the people out there use Illustrator as far as commercial stuff that I know of. I mean, that's just a guess. So just go out there and try to find like an introduction to Illustrator. And also learn about what a vector file is, and what all the file formats. YouTube is awesome. YouTube has, I wish I would have had YouTube 20 years ago, because I probably would have progressed a whole lot further than I did, quicker than I did sooner. Being a self-taught graphic designer, I mean, I would have, ate that stuff up. I mean, it's a huge free resource that's out there that you can use. Some of the first classes I took, I did take a class on Illustrator. It was an introductory class to Illustrator up in the Dallas area, because I live in the Dallas, Texas area. And it was an Adobe certified trainer. It was a good company. I took a bunch of other web classes from that same company. But the introduction to Illustrator class taught me that what Illustrator really was. When I started using Photoshop, I knew that I was editing photos. I was able to take pictures of cars and put different wheels and colors and make them look like, I was doing like renders with those, and doing real good with that. I was taking photographs and touching up photographs. I'd help photographers out. They would take multiple pictures of the same person in one session, and maybe they wouldn't like a facial expression or something, and I would move the face from one photo and put it on another, and I got real good at that. So I got real good at photo manipulation, that's what Photoshop is for. So when I started learning Illustrator, I tried to use it before I even took a class on it, and I just couldn't get the hang of it as quick as I wanted to. I kept trying to use it like Photoshop. Illustrator is not a photo editor. You can create logos with Illustrator and vector files, and that's like everything that I make as far as the decals. It was all drawn as a vector file. These are here's a few sample stickers that I've done so far. with these, but all of these are vector files. So go out there and take a look. Find a video to explain to you what a vector file is so you can understand what that is. You just have to take the time. If you're in a hurry, then you're going to struggle learning how to use this BN-20, and you can get very frustrated right away. And then, like I see many people post, they want to sell the machine because it's not working as efficient as they would like it to. If you know what you're doing, the machine does print kind of slow, but if you know what you're doing, you can set jobs up and get jobs to print and get it going at a steady pace to where it can be productive for you. The next thing I do want to get, which everybody else talks about getting, is the GS24 cutter, which is another cutter made by Roland that'll cut files that you print off of here. If you put the crop marks on here, it indicates where the file needs to be cut, and then you can print that job, maybe print a big one, and then stick it in the cutter, and it'll cut it while you're printing another job. So you don't have to wait for this to cut, because this takes a little bit a while to cut. But for now, for me, it's doing good. I mean, I've made like this. This is a little decal I've made for a trailer. I have a RV trailer that my wife and I like to use, so we like to make RV things. So I've made that. This was for a friend of mine wanted to make it for a friend of his. This was a self-portrait he sketched. So it was just an image that was drawn on a piece of paper and then watercolored and then scanned. And then when it's scanned in, I took it into Photoshop and kind of enhanced the colors a little bit more, made it a little bit more vibrant. It was a large file. It was a high resolution file. And then I saved it as a PNG, just the face. And then imported it into Illustrator and then drew the circle around it, typed the text around it, and made a vector file out of this. So the whole file of this is vector except for this face. That face is not vector. It's an image placed with vector shapes. Well, anyway, that came out real good. He really liked that. And then here's another decal. You really can't. This is with the white ink. You really can't see it. It needs to be on a black background because everything that's behind it, like the tires on the bike, should be black. But that's a cool sticker because mine prints white. But you need to learn what a vector file is. And then also just kind of look up PNG files, portable network graphics. Those were used for websites because I think they can hold data, and they can the format of the file I think holds data, and websites can use that. Like dynamic websites can use that to help pull up images like on the fly. If you don't understand web design, then you're not going to get that either. And I'm probably not explaining that very well, but anyway, it's good to know all the file formats. PNG, JPEG, SVG is also a vector file, but I really don't use those that much. I always convert everything to an EPS or an AI file, which is what a vector file is. So you've got to know how to use those files and how to manipulate those files in order to create cut lines and bleeds. So I talked about vector files and needing to know what those are. The other thing that is good to know is where to, is probably what type of media you want to use. There are two basic types of media that I'm using. I'm using a heat transfer printable vinyl, which is the Siser, I don't know how to say it. I think it's Caesar or Siser Color Print Easy. I ordered it off of a website that's local here in Dallas. If you order a certain amount, they'll ship it for free. Or if I want to, I can drive up and go get it. I live about 30 miles south of downtown Dallas, but this place is north of Dallas, so it's about 45 miles, about an hour drive, which is, not a big deal. If I'm in a pinch and I need something pretty quick, I can buy it. They always have a lot in stock. When I go to their website, it actually tells you how many they have in stock, so each time I check, they always have at least 150 rolls in stock, so I don't ever have trouble with that. So I use that, and then actually it's on the printer. So yeah, so this is the Siser Color Print Easy. It's pretty thin. It works pretty well. That's what this is on my shirt. That's what I used. This I go by Zumo. Zumo is an old like avatar name or internet handle. That was like my gamer handle back in the day when I was playing Quake and Doom and all those games. And then I'm also into cars, so it's kind of a name I use in the car club. So I just kind of, when I started my graphic design, my freelance graphic design, I just naturally thought Zumo, something to do with Zumo, so then I picked Zumo Graphics. So that's where I came up with the name Zumo Graphics. But I used the Siser Color Print Easy, and then this is the Siser transfer tape, and this is the high-tack tape, because when you print one of these images, you have to weed it, of course, but then you have to put the tacking paper on top to peel it off the backing from the Siser Easy Weed. And I got the normal tack paper the first time, and it really didn't want to pull the image off the back of the Siser paper. You really have to squeeze it. I had to squeeze it, real tight, and really kind of struggled to pull it off, especially if I had fine details and letters and stuff. The letters wouldn't want to come off. If you have a solid image like this, and you put the Siser tack paper on there, it peels it off pretty good. But this was a higher tack paper, so and this roll comes in like this one I think is just a 30 feet roll, 10 yards. And I reuse a lot of this. Sometimes I'll cut a piece, stick it on a transfer, peel the transfer off, put it on a shirt, and then it's still sticky. So I'll stick it on another transfer and peel it off, put it on a shirt. You know, if it's a solid one like this. You know, that's something to think about. You can use to help save you money. This isn't too expensive, but you know it does cost. As far as the roll, I bought the 25-yard roll. I think 25 yard, yeah, 25 yard. So I have 75 feet now, or no, the 50-yard roll. So I have 150 feet. So I bought the bigger roll on the. No, I'm sorry. I bought this roll right here, which is this roll is a 3M vinyl. I'll put a link in the description of where I got this. This is what I use to cut or print my stickers on. I did buy the Roland vinyl first, and I went to that roll. It was like it was also like a 10-yard roll, and I went through that pretty quick, kind of learning how to use the machine, printing stickers. Most of these stickers are on the Roland. This is on the Roland paper, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of the backing's pretty thick, but the sticker it's kind of thin. But this 3M roll is a lot better. And this was actually a 30-inch roll, and I had them cut 10-inch off, so I could use the 20-inch roll to load in the machine. So it's a pretty thick roll. That's gonna take me a little while to get through that, but I'm gonna use that to make decals, and I also use it to make like yard signs, 18 by 24 yard signs that you would put out like in your yard for like people use for small businesses. Roofers love those things. I have a couple of roofers here locally that want me to make some for them, so I'm going to do that. And those you can buy, online or whatever. But I'll put the two links where I buy my stuff. Again, they're locally here to me in Dallas. I'm in a major metropolitan area. I'm able to find good deals, or have good access to that stuff. Some of you may be in an area where it's not as easy to get that type of stuff, but of course they will ship it to you. And if you buy the big rolls, yeah, it's going to cost a little bit up front, but you'll make that money back, and they'll ship it to you for free. So that big 30-inch roll that I had cut down, I think was like $180 or something like that. But the roll that they cut down, I had to cut another inch off of it because there are only certain sizes that the BN-20 will accept. And I'll do a separate video on that as I kind of figure that out too, because I'm still learning how to use that. I was able to use this holographic vinyl, and I printed some decals using color and white ink. You put white ink down first and then the color on top, and then those decals actually came out pretty good. They were for a bike. I'll show you a picture. So those came out really, really good, and that's my personal bike, and I'm an old school BMX guy, and I like riding those bikes, and so I wanted to customize that bike, to make it a little more my own. That's kind of what you do with those. So get those two. When you buy the machine, it comes with the cleaning kit. The cleaning kit is just some fluid and then some swabs and stuff. I bought an extra cleaning kit. Oh, and it comes with a cleaning cartridge. I bought an extra cleaning kit not knowing that it came with one, so I've got an extra cleaning cartridge. And then maybe I'll talk more about that later. I'm still learning about that. I kind of jumped in, and when I got the machine, I was able to get everything installed and get it up and running within a couple of hours. I have an IT background. Any issue that I ran into on the computer, I knew what I needed to do to get it to load and run properly, so that was not an issue for me. So a lot of the things you make on this are pretty cool. I have made some t-shirts too. This is a shirt that I made for my wife for a Christmas present. This was a picture that she took on our vacation. We went to Turks and Caicos, and I took the picture, I typed some text over it in Illustrator. There's a special, I might do a video on that, how to do that, but you convert the text to a certain format, and then you can create like a clipping mask, and it'll clip out everything outside of the text and only keep the image inside the photo. And then in order to get it to come out and not have a white the white border around it, you have to put a bleed, and I kind of talked about that in one of my other videos. You can kind of watch that, but maybe I'll make a video on the whole process on how to do that. But that came out great. My wife loved it. It was, you know, it's a nice personal touch type gift. The colors on this printer, they're super vibrant. I mean, they come out pretty good. I mean, it's kind of hard to, I don't know if you can see it real well in the video. The lighting is kind of bad, but it came out great. She opened it up and she loved it. And of course, I made 2 of them because when I printed one of these, because of how wide the paper is, I don't want to, you know, you can print 2 of them. Like, so here was, I had them set up this way. So I had one right here and one right there. I don't like to waste a lot of material, so I was able to print 2 of them. So of course I made me a shirt too. And so that's the next time we go on vacation, because we love going on beach vacations. So the next time we go on a beach vacation, both of us are gonna wear our shirts and be like Twinkies. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the video right there. It's gotten pretty kind of long. Thank you if you stayed this long. Please like and subscribe my videos. I have other YouTube channels that I have for some of my other hobbies. I like to restore old bicycles and build mini bikes and do some things like that. And that's kind of why I made the decals for my bicycle. But I also powder coat things in my home garage. I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of some. I don't say none, but master of some. But I have plenty to keep me busy, and now that I have this, it's also keep me busy. So far since I've had it, I'm slowly getting the word out. I'm slowly getting people contacting me, mostly friends right now. I have a lot of friends that are small business owners that need, you know, since I also do graphic design, I do like logo design, and I'll do like t-shirt designs for people, and those same people I've been doing that stuff for my freelance side are starting to ask me for stuff like stickers and signs for their business and t-shirts for their business. So the word of mouth is getting out. I'm not really paying a lot of promotion to promote myself as far as marketing, like online with Facebook or Instagram or anything like that right now, because I'm still trying to get the hang of this machine. And you know, if it starts getting real busy and I start being able to make more money off of it, then maybe, you know, I'll take the next step and get a bigger machine and kind of work around that. I would love to be printing. I do have an Etsy page out there. I'll put a link in my description. And right now on my Etsy page, I have 2 Etsy pages. One that's car related for some of the car stuff that I make, because I reproduce graphics for cars. Like there's a certain type of, like a Honda CRX from the 80s that they don't make a lot of reproduction parts for, so I make a lot of decals for those cars, and I sell them off that Etsy page. But then I have a main Etsy page for my Zoom graphics stuff, and right now all I have on there is like a printing service, meaning I'll print decals for people. This is I entered a price list, and so far I haven't had any sales off that yet. I've directed some traffic to that Etsy page and got sales off of it, but not actually clicking on there and purchasing through there. I'll send people to that site to kind of see my price listing, and they'll have me print some stickers for them. And I haven't really promoted that page either. So if you go to that page, you'll see that I had 0 sales, which that's fine. That's not really bothering me right now. I'm going to start putting some of the things I create on that page to help kind of boost some of those sales. Right now, I'm just trying to provide like a service. I want to be able to create a shirt for you, create a decal for you, or create other print items for somebody. I'm not really trying to print something that I created as far as like my own design and then sell it as t-shirts. Like, here's a t-shirt you can buy. I'm not really doing that right now. I probably will for the local schools here when next season, when the football starts. I'll probably start doing some, spirit wear with the school logo on it and the school mascot. Some cool stuff that I've always wanted to make that I never have, because I have designed spirit wear for the local schools here in this area, and it's been screen printed. I've done it for somebody else where they've gone and they've taken get screen printed. Now I can do it myself. I'm going to create some shirts, and I'll probably put those up on that site and kind of sell off of there. But right now I'm just trying to just slowly get into it. Like I said, I'm like every day, once a week, I'm making a little money here and there, and I'm trying to make the money back for the purchase of the machine, because we took some of our own money and we bought it outright, and now we're just trying to rebuild that money that we had to use, because we really didn't have the money for this machine. But I knew that I could make the money off of it if I got the machine, so that's why I got it. But again, like I said earlier in the video, you've got to know how to use CorelDRAW or Illustrator and to create those cut lines or those bleed lines. If you don't know how to do that stuff, then you're going to struggle getting this machine. Don't think that just because you are a master in using Cricut or Silhouette that this thing's going to come easy like flipping a switch. It's not. I'm not saying it's not impossible. If you are a master in those things, you probably will learn how to use this pretty easily, but just go in there knowing that it's going to be there's going to be a learning curve before you actually get real proficient with it. I would actually just practice making files before you kind of get into the machine to see if it's something that you're comfortable with and that you could do. Most of us know how to do it. It's the easiest thing in the world. It's probably one of the minor things you think about when printing this, because there's so many other settings when you go through printing a print job, that once you got your bleed lines and your cut lines figured out, there's a bunch of other things you got to worry about. That you go, okay, I got my cut lines, my bleed lines, that's good. Okay, let me see what else I got to work on. So you'll start to see that, and I'll probably do some videos on creating a file from the start to finish, and I'll post those. I do have one that I created. It was actually the first shirt I printed on this when I had it a couple weeks ago before Christmas for a friend of mine. She wanted a shirt for her husband. I did do some time-lapse video of that. I'll put that up here in a little while, probably the next couple of days or so after I post this video, just to kind of show you the process of how I did that, how I drew it from Illustrator. I took an existing t-shirt that she found, and said she wanted a shirt like this. And so I took that graphic and I just basically redrew the graphic. I used different fonts, and I found an image online that I used for it, and created my own version of that design, and then put it on the shirt for her. So I'll post a video on that. But like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. I've been pretty winded, but I hope that you learned a lot about what you need to know before you get a printer. I told you a little bit about myself and how I got started, and kind of my mentality towards buying this printer. And like I said, I'm not saying that it's not impossible to learn what you need to learn, but just going that knowing that it's not It's not something that you can just flip a switch and start using right away. You have to do your homework, do your research, and think about it, because it's a big purchase to just be sitting there doing nothing because you're frustrated and you can't use it. That's it. That's all I have. Come here. My little friend has been watching me do this the whole time, so she wants to say hi. Say hi and goodbye.